Hello everyone. Welcome to another week of Verses. Real quick, we do want to let everyone know that as the seasons change, as it starts to get really hot and starts to warm up, get really humid, keep yourself hydrated. Keep a lot of fluids. Keep a lot of electrolytes in your body, because a lot of people, man, are falling victim to these different swings in temperature. And like I said, we want to make sure that everybody's being as healthy as can be. With that being said, that also is a very good segue into our topic for this week, which is going to really touch on a lot of different beverages, some of your favorite beverages, some of your favorite brands that you might not even realize may be associated with certain beverages. But for this week's topic on Versus, we're going to do Pepsi versus Coca-Cola. Not just those individual sodas, but those companies and how their brands stack against each other. Now that should be fun. I'm quite sure there's going to be a lot of difference of opinions on that. So, without further ado, welcome to Versus.
There's something wrong. You don't know what it is, but it's there.
Nah, I definitely agree with that shit. Damn, Beretta, man. Fuck. Bro, I know you got bicycle, man, but you gotta think sometimes. Shit. Some of this shit don't even call for. Bro, I was talking to my suckers on the wall. Listen, mirror on the wall. Who the really nigga in it?
Now, Versus, you already know that I usually go through both sides, give all the pros and cons, this, that, and the third. On this particular episode, we're going to get a little more in depth, right? First, we're going to do just Coca-Cola versus Pepsi, just the individual drink. Then we'll get into the actual brands. Now, as you see, I just killed the last bit of that Pepsi. I don't know if anybody knows, like, my family, but they do Pepsi. That's not even no debate to them. But for the sake of this argument, I'm going to be very objective, just based on a lot of different factors. A lot of the factors that we will be weighing in, obviously taste, preference, but marketability, longevity, finances, popularity, that type of thing. And just to make sure that, because I know like that's a very interchanging dynamic. Shit, from year to year, that shit could bounce either way. So that's why I got my little like fact checker here, just to make sure, you know what I'm saying, that as for right now, for the purposes of this argument, everything is gonna be real quoted accurately, this, that, and third. Alright. But anyway, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and get into it. So let's start with Pepsi. When I think of Pepsi, right? Pepsi just has a way of being a household item. What I say that is, Pepsi, you associate with things that is just commonplace. Like, if you think hot dog, you go to a baseball game or something like that, you just used to seeing that logo. That Pepsi branding, and I think because they associate with a lot of snack foods, I think that really kind of helped launch them. But taste-wise, I have noticed a very major difference in the taste, which I could definitely tell you that people who drink sodas will obviously tell the difference very, very quick. Pepsi hits like, oh man, like, that shit hits. Like, that shit, matter of fact, it'll clear your sinuses. Like, if you kind of like clogged up, if it's like a pollen filled area or something like that, a good Pepsi will really like decongest you, believe it or not. It has a lot of fucking acid in that shit, you feel me? That shit will like, you'll feel that shit. If you get a 12-ounce can and try to like chug that bitch, especially if that bitch good and cold, oh my god. and you chug that bitch, you know what I'm saying? That shit is gonna like loosen all that up. You're gonna burp. You're burping like off rip, you know what I'm saying? But that shit is going to like, I don't know how to explain it, man. That shit is, and it's gonna give you a nice like jolt of energy. You know what I mean? Caffeine by nature is addictive. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't realize that, but caffeine is a drug, and Pepsi is well aware of this, and its caffeine content is quite high. It's quite high. So, like I said, it does have making you want more type of effect. But as far as taste, it's very strong and it's satisfying. And the thing about it is, it's gonna kind of keep you somewhat drinking it in moderation, just because it has so much caffeine and so much carbonation that you won't just be able to drink it like water. You know what I'm saying? Because you'll literally like have to like let the fucking carbonation like come up out you first. You feel me? Like it's gonna force you to do that. But with that being said, I would say this, because it's so carbonated and it's so strong. If you leave it open, like if you leave the top off that bitch for like anything more than like 10-15 minutes and you don't drink it all, it starts to lose its fizz. Fun fact, get the cans. If you get a bottle, you're going to want to consume that shit once the seal is broken. Because even once you put the top back on, it's still not 100% airtight. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you're going to lose that punch. Now, let's go to Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, to me, is a little sweeter. It's a little sweeter than Pepsi. It's not, I don't think of Coca-Cola as like, if I need a jolt of energy, it's going like boom boom. At least modern Coca-Cola. Because as I was doing my research, I come to find out that the original Coca-Cola, you was some slick bitches, you motherfuckers. Some slick bitches. Like, they really, like I was saying for Pepsi, caffeine is very addictive. Pepsi is very, very aware of this. Coca-Cola took that shit to a whole other level. Coca-Cola was literally Coca-Cola. Like, Coca, like Yayo, like fucking Tony Montana, Scarface. But back in those days, I mean, cocaine technically was not illegal. They used it for a lot of medical purposes. But Coca-Cola, the original Coca-Cola formula, contained caffeine and cocaine. So I'm quite sure that it probably packed a bigger punch like when it was originated. But obviously once cocaine got outlawed and made illegal, they had to change the formula. Now, as far as I believe, like I said, I wasn't born way back in those early days when they were starting these companies. But as far as I believe, from everything I've read, I don't think Pepsi, the original Pepsi, did much changing to their original flavor. I think their flavor has pretty much been consistent over the course of time, which is why I believe that their, I guess, legacy on taste-wise has carried on. Like Coca-Cola has kind of tweaked and played, because at one point I think they did change something with the sugar content and had to revert back. I remember, I think it was somewhere in the 90s or something where they did that. But, I mean, one thing Coca-Cola does have for it, right? Coca-Cola, I don't necessarily know if it's because they're based in Atlanta and Pepsi's headquarters based in Denver, Colorado, I think it is. But either way, Coca-Cola just has more popularity. You see it more places. It's more urban. It's more cool. It has more swag. If a beverage can have a swag, you know what I mean? It's like they have more marketing to me now. You know what I'm saying? I'm quite sure that Pepsi's probably not going to be far behind in that category, but it's just Coca-Cola just seems like they have more of the factor, like they're more stylish. Now, those were just those two drinks. So just to sum that quick little discussion up, taste-wise, in my opinion, I mean, that goes to Pepsi. Like, I mean, that's not really, to me now, you know what I'm saying? But now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this argument of really what we're getting into. Now we're going to talk about the two as companies. As a company, I will give Coca-Cola this. I think they probably lead in a lot of other categories because Pepsi has Sierra Mist, Pepsi has Mountain Dew, and Pepsi has Sunkist. Now I fucks with Sunkist. God knows I fucks with Sunkist. I do. But out of those that I just named, can either one of those see that Sprite? Like, that Sprite, man. That Sprite really put Coca-Cola in the game. Because Sprite, shit, bro. Like, Sprite might, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it wasn't like for Coca-Cola and Pepsi, I believe Sprite probably would be the marquee, like, soda. You feel me? That lemon lime, that crispy. And I don't get this. Like, I never understood this, right? Sprite is caffeine free, but it gives you that same like kick, you know what I mean? But it's like healthier for you. But I've never ever drunk a Sprite and was able to like not have that thirst quenching feeling. Like, so it's definitely winning there. Now, as far as Mountain Dew, as far as like I say, Sunkist, I mean, damn, like those are like good sodas, but I'm just saying like those are their second, third, like, you know what I'm saying, kind of runner up to the actual Pepsi. Coca-Cola's second and third runner ups, I think, hit a little harder than Pepsi's on. Who you're partnered with has a lot to do with how big you become. Now, Coca-Cola, I see a lot of vending machines around like a lot of high schools, a lot of, you know what I'm saying, gyms, things like that, you know what I'm saying, kind of like park, you know what I'm saying, like outside of certain plazas and something like that. But some kind of way, Pepsi to me just seems to have the bigger venues. Because generally, when I see like a lot of Pepsi signs and shit, that shit is at like big game forums. Like, if you go to like a NFL game or, you know what I'm saying, or something like that, you know what I'm saying, it's like I said, I mean, I don't know if it's, you know, a specific way that they go about that, but it just seems like Pepsi is more consistently on a bigger stage, but Coca-Cola is just on more stages. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because Coca-Cola is, you know how many fucking gyms and high schools it is throughout the country versus like NFL stadiums and shit. But like I said, I mean, I don't know enough information to like really speak on that specifically, so that's why I just wanted to touch on that too, because that would be actually interesting to find out. But I do know that as far as branding wise, I see Coca-Cola do a more aggressive job at targeting like young people, like, you know what I'm saying, like the money that they spend on advertisement is like through the roof. Now Pepsi has this fucking NFL Super Bowl, and that shit is big. You know what I mean? They didn't have that shit since I can remember, because I know Michael Jackson had that shit like, I think in the 80s, 90s, because that's whatever with the hair catching on fire and shit. And like I said, I know Pepsi has always had that, and that shit is big. So maybe they feel like because they have the bigger like venues, like they don't have to have so many venues, which would make sense. You know what I mean? Now, the other thing Coca-Cola has going for it, and this is gonna be big, especially for me. Okay, Monsters are with Coca-Cola. Now, I don't know if you know how familiar y'all are with me, but Monsters is an energy drink. I mean, they categorize in the same boat with like your Red Bulls, Rock Stars, and all of that. But listen here, like I said, I love caffeine. You know what I mean? I've been drinking soda, coffee, all that shit for 35 years, and like I said, I've drunk them in very much excess. I can say with 100% certainty, I haven't had nothing that hits like a fucking monster. Not that sweet shit though. Not the healthy shit. Not the zero. What it is, the 0% sugar? No, not that shit. The black can with the green imp. You know what I'm saying? Like the dangerous one, the one that got that weird, like different kind of word on the top of that bitch. You know what I'm saying? I think it started with an L or some shit around there. Like I don't know if that's French or what. You know what I'm saying? That shit. Listen, monsters will slap your ass in the face. Like if you tired or you got to do something that you really don't want to do, and you want to get that shit over with, and you want to hit it and hit it hard and go on and knock it out, I promise you, get you a can of Monster, right? And drink that bitch like you would drink a Pepsi. Like drink that shit like a full. Like what I mean by that is don't sip it and play with it and get cute with it. Like you know what I'm saying? Like hit as much of it as you can to see how. Cause see the thing with Pepsi, right? Pepsi is so carbonated that you only gonna get to. I mean, me, I get to about maybe half of the can, 3/4 of the can before I have to take that initial breath and get that burp out before the carbonation just kind of like really butts itself out you. The Monster will let you consume a little bit more. Like I said, fun fact, you know what I'm saying? I've damn near like put down like a whole can almost in just one. But understand something. We're not talking about, okay, that shit'll kick in 5-10 minutes and it'll just kind of like sneak up on you. Man, that bitch finna hit your ass right then. You know what I'm saying? If you around a motherfucker that you don't like, get away from them. The Monster, not only does it give you energy, it's aggression energy. Like, it's, but let me say this though. I have a problem with moderation, and I love them shits. Like I said, because I love like caffeinated drinks, and because they have that strong hit to them, and you can consume it more without the carbonation, like really like, you know what I'm saying, stopping you. So I usually drink about 2 or 3 of them shits. You know what I'm saying? Like whenever I am drinking them shit. So by the time you get to like a second and third can, you all the way turned. You know what I mean? But make sure you got something to do on that shit, because you ain't going to sit still. That shit going to have you jittery. Make sure you eat on that shit too. But the reason why I brought that up is because Pepsi owns Rockstar. Not even close. The closest thing that I think marketing-wise would be, even in the stratosphere with Monster, maybe a Red Bull. But Red Bull's not owned by, I think, either Pepsi or Coke, so it's not relevant to this discussion. But ain't shit fucking with a Monster, so that shit dead right there. Like that by itself is dead. If you talking about an energy drink, outside of you going to take a line of Coke, or you just going to get some motherfucking straight adrenaline from the damn hospital, that's the only thing that's gonna outdo a Monster. You know what I'm saying? They got them shit, like there's a whole fucking warning, like underground black market warning. Like they don't put that shit like on the can, cause like I said, that shit's in some weird kind of language or something. But motherfuckers, like if they see you drinking them shits, like older people come in and tell you like, hey, be careful with that. Like that shit is dangerous. Like that's how bad Monsters are. And I felt it. Like I said, that shit. If you're not already a person that's used to doing a lot of work, be careful with that shit, man, because that shit will fuck your heart up. That shit is strong. But that's why I had to throw that out there, because Coca-Cola, the Coca-Cola itself, I feel like isn't like the star. One thing with Pepsi to me is probably the biggest thing on its business. Like think about it like this. Let's say Pepsi was a record label, and let's say Coca-Cola was a record label. I would see the Pepsi soda is probably the biggest artist on that record label. You know what I'm saying? Like they're probably the most famous, right? On Coca-Cola's side, the Coca-Cola itself wouldn't be the star artist on that record label. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's the face of it, it's the fucking cover, it's not the best on that fucking list. Honestly, not really even by far. I don't even really think that so. Because I mean, the fountains be hitting too. Now, I know a lot of those sales are gonna be boosted because the Sprite and the Fanta, they get a lot of sale boosts from codeine. You know what I mean? Because that's another story for another day. But the point is, they're really smooth. Like, they're really easy to drink, and you can do a lot with them. But that's as far as I'm gonna say about that. But I would say outside of the Coca-Cola itself, the rest of their lineup, because I mean that's even not even touching on the whole like water and Gatorades and shit like that. Like, and for me, when I think of the Powerades is what I think Coca-Cola. And when I think of Coca-Cola, it's their marketing. Like I said, I mean, if you ever seen a Sprite commercial, and they know what they be doing, man. Like the Sprite commercials, like I feel, let me say that, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't want nobody to get offended. Then I feel like those Sprite commercials be targeting like a thirsty ass like nigga who wants something to drink. Cause I mean, if they have like athletes on that shit, they have motherfuckers who like that like ball. You know what I'm saying? And the first thing you thinking, damn, they drinking that shit. You know what I'm saying? I want one, but when you drink it in that, that shit is like a real brilliant strategy. Cause to see a motherfucker that you like, you know what I'm saying, you keep up with, like, and that shit is marketing genius, man. That's why if you notice, man, they have a lot of big stars, a lot of big athletes endorsing Sprite. Obviously, Sprite is that lemon lime and that urbanness of it. I think they understand the you know what I'm saying, the demographics there. But now that we've kind of got all of the incidentals out the way, now we can start rating. I mean, like I said, this one is really gonna be more of a pick 'em because as the years go by, I'm quite sure these shits fluctuate up and down. I would say, in my opinion, I think Pepsi has probably been the more like consistent. Because as far as I know, Mountain Dew, Sunkiss, Pepsi, all that shit has been pretty much around. Like I know at least from the time I was little tough, they hadn't really did a lot of new shit. I mean, every summer I think they do like Mountain Dew Voltage and like Surge and shit like that. But their core pretty much stays the core. I know Coca-Cola didn't always have Monster. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit was whatever deal they did under the table, well, bam. And I know that their formula for the original Coke wasn't always that because they actually had Coke in that bitch. You know what I'm saying? So I know that Coca-Cola is more wiggle ready than Pepsi. Pepsi to me just seems like they're more firm, stuck in where they are. But with that being said, I would probably rate business wise. I mean, by looking at all the different companies and dealings that they do, I think that would be a little too, because it's too many things that would factor in it. Now, what I would say is based on overall company, which one that would probably end up fucking with the most. For me, I would probably have to say Coke, because Coke has more variety, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like out of that Pepsi lineup, like I said, I fuck with that motherfucking Sunkiss. I fuck with Mountain Dew. You know what I mean? Like fuck with Mountain Dew. And Pepsi to me would be the superstar of that fleet. But as a carbonated drink, they can't hold a candle to that motherfucking Monster. But if I'm trying to just, you know what I'm saying, just as a soda, I would even put Sprite. I wouldn't put Sprite with Pepsi now, because listen, a good cold Pepsi, that motherfucker is nice. You know what I'm saying? So I would say Pepsi, the soda, as a soda, probably would win out. But I mean, like I said, my favorite carbonated drink would be that Monster. But we talking sodas, I would put the Pepsi 1. I would put Sprite probably 2. And because Coca-Cola has so many other sodas that I would rate higher than Pepsi sodas, overall, I would say Coca-Cola probably win wins that. So, just to summarize, individually speaking, Pepsi beats Coca-Cola, just Pepsi versus Coke. Company-wise, overall-wise, I think Coca-Cola probably beats Pepsi. But, I mean, like I said, I don't know enough about the books to say who wins in the money-wise. Because, I mean, Pepsi got that fucking NFL Super Bowl shit, right? So, I feel like for them to be sitting on that shit and not really stressing all, like, the little, like, they know something, you know what I'm saying? Because think about that shit, they got the fucking Super Bowl, man, that shit. So, I feel like, you know, they straight. But, yeah, so I would say overall Coca-Cola wins that one based on company-wise, soda-wise, Pepsi wins just based on that. So that was pretty fun, man, because that one was different, because that one really took like some research, because it's like you don't realize what you don't know until you know what I'm saying, like really think about it, like damn. Right? You know what I mean? So but yeah, man, that one really requires some thought. I like them shits like that. So thank y'all for watching, man. We're gonna see y'all next week where we'll have another topic that's just as thought provoking. Thank y'all for watching S.S.B.G Network. This your boy 100K. See y'all next week. Boom.